Well, folks, there's a new as-a-service model in town. It's called function as a service, and this is one of the many as-a-service descriptors that CompTIA has singled out. They've called this out in the latest Cloud Plus objectives, so we should certainly know it. What function as a service is referring to is serverless computing. Yeah, this is one of the rages that we just love about cloud computing. You see, our major public cloud vendors like AWS are making pools of server resources available to us. That's right. They're just sitting up there waiting in the cloud to solve whatever functions that we might throw at them. So we don't have to worry about building servers in the cloud at all. They're already there, a big giant pool of them just waiting to help us out. Where did Amazon, as an example, get the idea for this? Well, it's exactly what they're doing with their Amazon Echo devices. That's right. When you say to your Echo device that you would like the weather for the next 3 days, that is going to be sent up to the serverless cloud computing pool in Amazon, and one of the systems can do the processing for that Amazon Echo device. This is really wonderful that we don't have to think about building the servers in the cloud at all anymore under this model. All we need to do is create the functions in our various workloads and have these functions be shot up at the cloud pool of resources that is waiting up there to call out whatever it is we need done. Just remarkable, this function as a service process. And what might be the triggers to call upon this cloud computing pool of resources? Well, maybe we send an HTTP request from our application that says, I need you to compute something for me. Maybe it's triggered on a database update that we go to this pool of cloud resources and we call upon it. Or maybe it's triggered by something like a file upload. So we upload a file to an S3 bucket, and this triggers a call to some processing that we need done by the serverless compute resources. Now, you can see some advantages here, I'm sure, right away, but let's call out some of the biggest ones. And one you might not have thought of immediately is cost efficiency. Yeah, we are paying just for the execution of that function. I mean, it was great in the cloud before where we were just paying for the number of seconds that our virtual machine was running, but this is even better. Yeah, paying for just the number of milliseconds it takes the serverless compute pool to execute whatever function we need executed. Yeah, amazing potential cost savings here. And how about elasticity? Sure, this is automatically factored in. The pool of resources up there, that pool of server resources is going to be expanding or contracting as needed for our particular use cases. So we don't have to worry about elasticity and figuring out how to configure that through something like auto scaling. The elasticity is just baked right in to this solution, if you will. And another huge advantage, of course, the obvious one, is we don't have to manage any servers. That's right. We don't have to do a thing with VMs in our solution. They're already there for us in the serverless compute pool. So, do all of the major cloud vendors give us serverless compute options through which we can do our function as a service work? Well, guess what? They all do. Yeah, so AWS has Lambda, which is their famous serverless compute service. Azure is giving us Azure Functions. Google Cloud Functions are what we would find in Google Cloud Platform, and IBM gives us a Cloud Functions service. So yes, plenty of examples. And I want you to remember this too. The Lambda service of AWS isn't their only serverless compute service. For instance, they have something called Fargate, which is where we can host our containers in a serverless compute environment. So our cloud vendors are giving us function as a service repositories, if you will, in their clouds, but there are other cases in which they are pooling compute resources so that we don't have to worry about underlying server management. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at a serverless compute environment in action, shall we? And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate the Lambda service in AWS that we mentioned. When you visit the Lambda service, it is ready to show you an example right on the main page. Notice they write a simple little hello from Lambda service, or function, I should say, in various languages for us. So it's kind of neat to see the efficiency or lack of efficiency of different implementations. And let's take a look, and let me zoom in here so you can see even better. Let's take a look at the Python, the beautiful efficiency of having one of our web components fire off a function at Lambda so that the servers up there can execute it. And notice how simple this is to do in Python. We create a simple function called the Lambda underscore handler, and this will send event and context information up. And then what happens in this function is we print the event. This is so we can log it inside of AWS. Obviously, we're going to want to log everything that we are doing when it comes to working with the serverless environment. But then what's the main point of this test? Well, it's to return to us in the console here a hello from Lambda. So when we click the run button, this function is sent into that pool of resources waiting up in AWS to help us. And so I run it, and almost immediately we get from that pool of resources in AWS our hello from Lambda. It's not a hello world, but I bet you this is going to bring us just as much good luck. So serverless computing is very exciting these days. There are serverless computing conferences held all over the world as this continues to gain steam, and you can see why. Really remarkable, us able to reach in and get computing resources from the cloud anytime we need them without all the administration of setting these servers up. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. And of course, we've got more great content here in our cloud architecture section to cover with you.